Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're talking about two massive challenges facing modern India. One is the invisible threat we breathe in every single day, and the other is the very visible mountain of waste that we just can't seem to get away from. But look, this isn't just about the problems. It's really a deep dive into the smart, innovative solutions that could actually pave the way for a much cleaner future. So let's just jump right in with the big question that, honestly, the global lockdowns forced all of us to think about. For years, we've kind of been sold this idea that it's a choice, right? You either have a booming economy or you have clean air to breathe. But is that really true? Is it a false choice? And what did we learn when the entire world just stopped? For a really brief, almost surreal moment, everything went quiet. And in that silence, something amazing happened. With the factories shut and the roads empty, cities that were usually choked with smog suddenly had these stunning, clear blue skies. It was just this undeniable, in-your-face proof that our air quality crisis is human-made. And here's the hopeful part. If we're the cause, it means the solutions are completely within our reach. Okay, so let's start with that first challenge. It's the one we can't always see, but believe me, it affects every single one of us with every breath we take. We're talking about the crisis of air pollution. Now, to really get a grip on this, you have to know what we're up against. And the main villain in the story is something called particulate matter 2.5, or just PM 2.5. Now get this, these particles from stuff like car exhaust are so tiny, we're talking 30 times smaller than a single strand of human hair, that they sneak right past our body's defenses. They go deep into our lungs and can even get into our bloodstream. And that, of course, is where they cause all sorts of devastating health issues. This brings us to a really crucial and actually surprisingly hopeful idea: short-lived climate pollutants. Think of things like the black carbon you see in soot. These things are incredibly good at trapping heat, but the most important part is right there in the name: short-lived. That means when we cut them down, we see results and we see them fast. It's a total win-win, an immediate victory for our health and for the climate. You know, this is why dealing with air pollution is so tricky. A puff of smoke doesn't care about a city limit or a state line. It just travels on the wind inside what experts call an airshed. So the smoke from stubble burning way up in Punjab absolutely can and does create a health crisis down in Delhi. It just proves that any real solution has to be regional. We have to work together, because local fixes just won't cut it. And that brings us to Delhi, which, let's be honest, is kind of the poster child for bad air. It's a real perfect storm. You've got all the local stuff, traffic, industry, construction dust, and then you mix in pollution blowing in from other regions, like that stubble burning. Then, to make it all worse, winter brings something called a temperature inversion, which basically acts like a giant lid on the city, trapping all that toxic gunk right down where we have to breathe it. But you know, Delhi also gives us a really powerful lesson. If you go back to the 90s, there was a huge court-mandated switch to cleaner CNG fuel for buses and autos. And you know what? It worked. The air quality got dramatically better, and you could actually see it. The problem? Well, the city kept growing. More and more cars hit the road, and eventually all those gains were just erased. It's a tough reminder that you can't just have a one-time fix. You have to keep pushing hard. All right, let's shift gears now to our second crisis. This is the one you absolutely cannot ignore. It's not some invisible gas. It's the very real, very visible, and ever-growing mountains of trash in our cities. Just take a second and let that number really sink in. 145,000 tons. That's not the amount of solid waste urban India makes in a year, or even in a month. That is what we produce every single day. The scale is just mind-boggling. So where does all this stuff go? Well, while we managed to collect almost 80% of it, that other 21%, that's a huge problem. We're talking more than 30,000 tons of garbage every day just being dumped or left on the streets, poisoning our soil and our water. You know, if you trace the whole system back, there is one single point where it all goes wrong, and also where we have the biggest opportunity. And it's this: segregating waste at the source. Just separating our wet kitchen waste from our dry recyclable waste right in our own homes. It's actually been the law since 2016, but hardly anyone does it, and the whole chain just breaks down right at that very first step. Okay, so it sounds pretty bleak, right? But this is where the story starts to change, because innovators all over the country are showing that there's a much better way. They are completely flipping the script, and they're starting to treat waste not as a problem to be thrown away, but as a seriously valuable resource. This whole idea is what drives organizations like Sahas Zero Waste in Bangalore. They don't just manage waste. They look at a pile of garbage and see raw material, something waiting to be turned into something new. They're creating a system that's good for the planet and, as we'll see, good for people too. And their model is just a brilliant, clear blueprint. First, they partner up with big apartment buildings and tech parks, places that make a lot of waste. Then they make sure segregation is done right, from start to finish. And then they turn that separated waste into new products. But, and this part is so important, they hire informal waste pickers, the people who have been the backbone of India's recycling for decades, and bring them into the formal economy with fair pay and safe working conditions. So, what are the results when you do all this? Honestly, they're incredible. Sahas achieves a 98% landfill diversion rate. I want you to really think about that. 98%. It means for every 100 kilos of trash they collect, only 2 kilos end up in a landfill. It proves that with the right system in place, we could practically make landfills a thing of the past. So what does this all tell us? Well, these examples, from both the air pollution fight and the waste crisis, they show us that we absolutely can, reimagine what our cities look and feel like. And these little pockets of hope are popping up everywhere. I mean, you've got Indore, where they are literally running city buses on fuel made from organic waste. You've got Pune, where a cooperative run by waste pickers is one of the most efficient in the country. And then you have startups like Takachar that are tackling that stubble burning problem right at the source. These solutions are smart, they're fair, and they're happening right now. So, when you put it all together, these twin crises really force us to ask a pretty fundamental question. We've seen the proof. We know these problems are solvable. We have the technology, we have the models to build cleaner, healthier cities. So the challenge, really, isn't about what's possible. It's about what we prioritize. Are we building our cities to manage waste, or are we building them for people to truly thrive?